have ranged from Kate Moss to the Queen, chooses the poem Neutral Tones, written in 1867 by Thomas Hardy.
Well, this poem came to me when I was about 19, I think, 20. I'd gone to do accountancy at Brighton Polytechnic and I'd realised that that was the error of my ways, going anywhere near accountancy. And I went back to live with my parents and decided to do an A-level in film studies and English at night school because I was obviously moving towards photography, but I wanted to kind of expand. I'd done maths and physics when I was at school, and I thought I need to expand my interest here, and I always loved English. And we were doing, I can't remember what we were doing, I don't think we were doing that Thomas Hardy novel, but I can't remember which one. And the teacher had said, look, it's poetry, because his poetry is incredible. And Neutral Tones, just the name of it, as a photographer, stood out to me, because I was learning about tones in photography. And I read the poem, and it's quite a short poem, and it was just so perfect as a poem. It's really funny talking about it now, because when I was at school earlier, I had a teacher called Mr. De Quincy, and we'd had this lesson in poetry, and I was really into it, and I loved to analyse it. I was really into the lyrics of songs, and at the end he said, Waddle, you don't have to analyse poetry, it's quite a complex thing to say, but at the same time it made me never go away and analyse things again in that way, deconstruct it, to reconstruct it, just to try and feel it a little bit more. So when I was asked to do this poem is a poem that I go back to, and go back to, and go back to, and I've never really discussed it with anybody, I've always just kind of felt it, so I'll try and feel my...
Because it's actually a very bitter poem, isn't it? It's about the end of a relationship, about two people facing the end of something that was once beautiful.
Yeah, and that's that thing, it's like, it's so beautiful in its bitterness. And I think there is that thing where you can see beauty in sadness. I'm really drawn to that, and I think we like to kind of like sit and wallow in our own melancholy. So what I love about it is it's so visual. So when you read it, I mean, when you stood, I'll try and read a bit of it. We stood by upon that winter deck. I started doing my poetry, boys. Sorry, I'll just do it normally. We stood by upon that winter day, and the sun was white as though chidden of God, and a few leaves lay on the starving sod. They had fallen from an ash and were grey. And that is just visually so compelling. And it's there's so much meaning in it. And
it's like the opening shot of a film, in fact, isn't it?
It's so cinematic, and that's the thing. It's you feel like you're there, and what I love about it is it's so visceral. I'll go on. Your eyes on me were as eyes that rove over tedious riddles of years ago, and some words played between us to and fro, and which lost them all by love. And that again is the line, and some words played between us to and fro, is so incredible. His use of language there, and it's like something jumping between two people. It's interesting because it feels like when you split up with someone, or when something is finished between two people, it's almost the same as when you get together. It has that kind of intensity, and that they're obviously, this is the kind of final moment for me when they're there and they're saying goodbye to each other almost. It's 4 stanzas, and it works in this 1-2-2-1 sequence, and it's actually almost perfect when you read it. So in terms of words, it's perfect. In terms of visuals, it's perfect. What I love about it, and I think what great art always does, is it evokes something within you. And I go back to those relationships I've had where I don't see them looking at each other, kind of wondering why they've been in love with each other. I don't see that. I see them looking at each other going, I really am in love with you in some way, but I can't feel it anymore. And that looking at someone, their eyes roving around somebody,
and seeing the smile on your mouth was the deadest thing. Yeah, I mean, that's a killer line.
That's a killer line, and it's a killer feeling, and we've all been there. We've all been in that place where that smile that used to mean so much is almost the knife to the heart.
Are you seeing it as well? I mean, as a photographer, yes. I mean, to me, this is like a poem in black and white.
Absolutely, it's in black and white, and I mean, even the name Neutral Tones, Neutral Tones has so many connotations of it being, a point of where you're neutral, neutral ground. To me, this is like this, the visualization is this white, almost kind of like grey, but white grey, bleached out. The sun, which also evokes this idea of light being so bright that it kind of bleaches everything. It's so visual, it's so photographic. And then, you know, what I really, the thing that really kills me about the poem is that then in memory, all of these evocative things become just this really simple, very straightforward visualization, which is your face and the gold-cursed sun and a tree and a pond edged with creation leaves. It suddenly loses all of its magic and all of its beauty. It's just a list, but that list sets up the beginning of the poem again, and you want to go back and read it again, and it's that circular thing of life continuing. And that, he says, since then keen lessons that love deceives and rings with wrong have shaped to me, you know, that this is life in a moment, and that becomes a photograph, and that's why I'm obsessed by it.
You can download that interview and hear other material related to both Thomas Hardy and Rankin at the Cultural Exchange website. Tomorrow there's another Rankin in the Cultural Exchange, crime novelist Ian Rankin, and we'll be talking to architect Richard Rogers, whose 80th birthday is being marked with a show at the Rankin. Join me again at 7. Front Row was presented by John Wilson and produced by Claire Bartlett. Rupert and Zoe finally admit their secrets in the Cazalet in minutes. That's after news of the return of a British institution.
This summer, dip in to the BBC Proms. The BBC Proms, alive with music across the BBC. Starting tomorrow night from 7:30, live on BBC Two and BBC Radio 3.
Now here on Radio 4, the Cazalets casting off by Elizabeth Jane Howard, and Clary has been banished by Archie to the countryside to get on with her writing. The narrator is Penelope Wilton.
Hello.
Clary?
I wanted some late backwards from the cottage. It's made it got terribly squashed. I had to walk all the way from the tube.
It's Monday.
I suppose we could squash them even more and imagine we're having some kind of exotic drink.
I thought we agreed only yesterday that you would stay at the cottage on your own and I would come down on Friday.
I said I'd try to stay there, Archie, but it was so quiet, really. You don't know what it was like.
Which was why I thought it would be good for you to have some room, peace, to start writing again.
I can always go and stay with Polly if you don't want me.
Really, Clary, you're being impossible. Where do you think you're going?
I don't want to be a burden to you.
The interludes by Benjamin Britten from Zachary Oromo and the BBC Symphony Orchestra tomorrow night. That recording by the BBC Philharmonic, conducted by Edward Gardner. First night of the Proms live on Radio 3 at 7:30. Coverage starting on BBC 2 at 8 o'clock. BBC 4 leads Proms TV coverage this year. Great orchestras of the world every Thursday night. Popular concerts on Friday nights. And 20th century music introduced by Tom Service every Sunday night. Well, as you can hear in the background, Zachary Oromo rehearsing a sea symphony ready for tomorrow night's first night. When he chooses to break the orchestra, we will chat